Welcome back, everybody, to Devil's Advocate with Rosebud Baker. I am Rosebud Baker, and you know that because you came to this podcast to listen to me bullshit. So I don't need to say any of that, but I do it. It's like a tick. I wanted to thank you guys for listening and for your feedback and your comments and your questions, everything that you've sent in. If you want to contact me, you can contact me at DevilsAdvocatePod.ATC at gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Rosebud Baker or at DevilsAdvocatePod.ATC. So the email and the Instagram are the same, DevilsAdvocatePod.ATC, and that's called branding. You're welcome. Devil's Advocate alone wasn't available because it is a commonly used phrase by pain in the ass white guys mostly. But that kind of brings me to my point, which is that when I started this podcast, I wanted to use that title in spite of the fact that it makes people think of like, you know, annoying edgelord dudes. I wanted to use it because I do think that there's something good about bad things we label bad. I wanted to interview comics about the worst things that had happened to them and why or how those experiences shaped them into funny human beings. It's why I chose the title Devil's Advocate. I want to advocate for bad experiences and show people that our capacity to experience pain goes kind of hand in hand with our capacity to experience joy. If you've experienced pain fully, if you're one of those people, you're generally not afraid to laugh at it. So, anyway, that's a deep and unfunny way of saying that your trauma can be hilarious if you let it be. And so for this episode, I asked you guys, specifically you, listeners, I went to Instagram and I asked you, what's the worst thing that's happened to you? And I'm going to see if I can find something funny about it. All right. And if I don't, it's not a big fucking deal. I'm just going to talk about it anyway. Cause it's like, I don't have guests. All right. I could go on Zoom if you guys wanted to listen to my comedy, and their comedy on a shitty delay, but, I'm not interested in that. And you guys don't have the fucking time for it. So, I want to say one thing before I get into all the twisted shit that you guys have been through, which, by the way, you have all been through some crazy fucking shit. You guys sent me some wild experiences, and reading them made me feel a lot less self-conscious about what I say on here, because with the shit you guys have been through, I mean, I'd be surprised if anything fucking fazed you. And I love that about you guys. I love that about my listeners. You're old souls. And by that, I mean you are weathered and tired of life. Also, I wanted to say real quick that this week I went on iTunes to like check my fucking status, my ratings and reviews, because you guys know I'm an egomaniac who needs help. And I saw that like some people had rated the podcast like 1 star and then just dipped. They didn't say anything. They weren't like, hey, shut the fuck up, please. I fucking hate this puppy. I swear. You guys, it is amazing how pissed off you can get at a fucking 9-pound thing. Like, I could shatter her bones if I wanted to. And yet I don't. But she deserves it. She's a terrorist. She just ate incense, and I had to stop the podcast and start it over like 3 times because she fucking found incense. Where? I don't know. There's no incense in the kitchen. We haven't found incense. We've been living here for 2 months, and we haven't found incense. And this fucking dog found it. Anyway, so I went on and I found, like some people had like written like 1 star and then they just dipped out. They didn't say like what they liked about the podcast or what they didn't like about the podcast. And it's like, listen, if you're going to leave 1 fucking star, I mean, I'm not going to be happy about it, but at least say what the fuck your problem is. At least be like, I don't like Rosebud or her dumb fucking face. You know, like, let people know what your deal is, what your damage is, Heather. So I went to you guys. I went on Instagram and I was like, hey, this happened. You know, it's kind of pissing me off because this is like the only thing I have right now. So maybe if you could just like, if you guys would be so kind, would you leave some reviews? And you guys fucking came out. I honestly like woke up the next morning. I was just so thankful because you guys really, you all like rated the reviews and rated it and reviewed it and just like came through. You fucking came through for me. And I was like, it just feels so good because I sit here and I'm podcasting to no one. I mean, I'm in my living room talking to nobody. And as a stand-up, you're like, you miss that audience interaction. Like it's a two-way conversation, even if the other people aren't allowed to talk. It still is, it's like an energy exchange. And if I'm sitting here just like yelling into the abyss, it just feels so fucking good for me to say like, hey guys, if you listen to the podcast, please come through and review it. For you guys to come through the way you did, you doubled my fucking ratings in a day. And I'm so fucking grateful to you. You made my day. You really did. And, you know, I don't like to get sappy, but you made your old pal, Rosie, almost cry. Almost. I didn't, and by almost, I mean I thought about crying. I didn't like, it. Nothing welled up, but I thought about it. Okay? So thank you. Anyway, so for the episode, I asked you guys what's the worst thing that happened to you, and I'm gonna go into these. I'm gonna see if I can find out what's funny about it, and maybe I won't find something that's funny about it. Maybe I'll just end up talking about it, and maybe I will. But excuse me, I'm disgusting. All right, let's get into it. All of these are anonymous, so I'm just gonna go into them one by one. So the first one I got was the worst thing that has ever happened to this girl. My mom rigged a game of musical chairs at my 5-year-old birthday party so a girl I hated would win. Well, that's, you know, not that fucked up. First of all, I'm opening with this because you got to go light first. All right. You got to read a room. And I just want to say your mom's a bitch, but also she taught you a valuable lesson, which is that birthday parties, suck. Okay. And, she also taught you a lesson in loss, which is that every year on your birthday, you lose a year. And in your case, a year of your life and also a game of musical chairs. It is kind of bitchy of her to invite a girl you hated. And then to rig a game so that the girl you hated won. And part of this does kind of reek of turning your mother into an evil woman in your mind. Because it's like, you know, what kind of mother is that plugged into her daughter's social dynamics as a 5-year-old? But, I mean, if I was a mother of a 5-year-old, there's no way I would understand the intricacies of her feelings towards her peers, because her peers are like almost nonverbal. So, hold on. My boyfriend's like doing a Zoom show. When I'm mad at him, I call him my boyfriend, by the way. I don't call him my fiance. When Andy's pissing me off, he's my boyfriend. And when he's When he's being sweet, he's my soon-to-be husband. Anybody else do that? It really pisses him off. It's a lot of fun for me because it's like a way of demoting him without really telling him I'm mad. Anyway, it's fucked up and I shouldn't do it. Okay, so back to this girl's mom. Back to this girl's bitch mom. I am sorry that you had a bad experience at your 5th birthday party, but considering you are old enough to have an Instagram account, and I asked what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, you're on a pretty good run. I'm surprised you even listened to this. I'll be honest. I thought, I thought we were getting real here, people. But thank you. Thank you for sharing. We're moving on. This next person, divorced parents had cancer at the same time, and I had to choose where to celebrate Christmas. That is a fucking doozy. That's a tough choice. However, considering they had cancer at the same time, at least they were able to, find common ground somewhere, even though they got divorced. It's like maybe they were able to bond over their common experience with cancer. Good God, why did I do this? I'm really interested to know where you chose to celebrate. I want to know which parent suffering from cancer had to also suffer from a lonely Christmas. That's what I want to know. And why wasn't that parent writing in to me? Had cancer, daughter chose ex-husband with cancer to celebrate Christmas. That's a fucking rough one. Jesus. I would imagine that you probably split the time though. That's what I'm picturing ended up happening with this whole thing. Just so that I can feel better about the jokes I just made. Okay. This next one is from a listener who I'm assuming is from Kentucky. My ex blew up my phone when I was with my family because he thought I'd fuck my cousin. How hot is your cousin? I'm curious. Is your cousin is he the kind of hot where he's just charismatic and your boyfriend met him and was like, here's a cousin that I should probably look out for? Or are you from the kind of family that fucks your cousins? And also, your ex blowing up your phone, that's bad, but he didn't blow up your house. I have a friend whose ex put a bat through her TV because she left her phone at home while she was going to the deli to pick up toilet paper. And when she came back, she was like, what happened to the TV? And he was like, it broke. But there was a bat through the front of it. So, at least you didn't wreck your TV. It's so funny, these crazy ass boyfriends and girlfriends, it doesn't matter. You can be on either side of it. I've been on either side of it. I've been the insane girlfriend. I have a whole bit about what my fucking reaction was when I found out my ex was sleeping with other people. And it's, I'm not proud of my behavior. It's horrible. But when you're dealing with something that's just in your mind, that's another level of crazy. When you're dealing with not even facts, they're just fears that you have. That's another level of insane and immature that I wish that I could go back in time to my 20s and just sit myself down and just be like, listen, no matter what you think is happening, no matter how positive you are that this person is about to fuck you over, do not lose your fucking cool. You will be so much more embarrassed if you let these people see that they've affected you than you will be by them actually going through with whatever it is that you think is going to happen. You know, you got to carry yourself through life like Cersei did. Like Queen Cersei, what was it? Cersei? Was she a queen? Anyway, remember when they stripped her down and they paraded her through the town in Game of Thrones and she was naked, she was getting fruit thrown at her? That's the way you need to deal with your emotions. Okay? You need to let your emotions hit your naked body while you walk through the town square with your head held high and you just march on. And that, my friends, is how you suppress your feelings all the way down until they turn into constipation or cancer. Okay. Let's go to the next one. This is fun for me. I hope it's fun for you guys. It might be a little too dark. God damn it, I dropped my jewel. That's no good. I can't fucking podcast without my jewel. I actually switched. I switched from Jewel to Bow pods. And it's not the same. It's obviously not the same brand. But you know, since jeweling is illegal in the States now, I switched and I'm happier. I mean, yeah, I have to get my fiance to smuggle these things in from Canada, but I'm happy. You guys hear that sizzle? Did you fucking hear that? They're so much better than Jewel too. Jewel, compared to this, tastes like lit up newspaper compared to Bow, which tastes like a fucking apple orchard. All right. Oh, this is a good one. I accidentally waved at a neighbor I don't really know, stuck in a wave loop with him for 3 years. That sucks. I hate that. That sucks so bad. When you're stuck in any kind of loop with a neighbor where you have to interact with them every time you see them, that blows. Okay, that'll drive a man crazy it's a slow drip, but it'll make you fucking insane. All right? It'll lead you down a road where one day they're going to say hi to you and you're going to call the fucking cops. You're going to lose it. Me and my neighbor in New York we made up because I sent her a text apologizing for something I never did. Thanks, Alcoholics Anonymous. But we really got into it where like she got mad at me before Christmas because she said that, well, here's what happened. She fucking knocked on my door. She like kept knocking over and over and over again. I didn't come to the door because I was like tired from a road gig and I felt sick. And then she texted me and she goes, "Why aren't you coming to the door? I can hear you moving around in your apartment," which is crazy. That's nuts. Like, you need to be taken away, Joanne. And yeah, that is her real name. I don't care. So Joanne, I finally texted her back and I was like, "Listen, I can't come to the door. I'm tired. I flew upstate and back in the last 24 hours. I'm exhausted. I feel sick. I need a second." Then I run into her on the street later that day. I slept all fucking day. I slept all day. I was so sick that I took Charlie to daycare just to give him something to do so that I could sleep. I wake up literally 10 minutes before the daycare closes. I had to run to go pick him up. And while I'm picking him up, I see Joanne there. And I was like, "Hey, Joanne." And she goes, "Yeah." And she gets in my face and she starts talking about how my heater being on is causing a flood in her apartment. And I was like, "Why didn't you call the super?" And she goes, she just could not compute that idea. The idea of calling the super, I don't know what she's done to piss the super off, but she did not want to fucking call the super. And she got in my face and she goes, "You're the reason I'm fucked." And I was like, well, I don't see how that could be true because I haven't known you since you were 6. And we hadn't talked for about 8 months after that. And unfortunately, her dog died over like the day after Christmas, and I feel really bad for her for that. That's very sad for the dog, but also, you know, for her, because I can't imagine she has more friends than that, just that dog. I mean, that dog was deaf and blind, and I think that's what it takes to be Joanne's friend. So she lost her one and only deaf and blind friend, and, I just thought, this lady's got a rough life. I'm going to apologize to her, and also, I'm coming back to New York. I don't want to start things off on a bad foot, but so we patched things up. But I still don't like her, obviously. I still have a lot of anger towards Joanne, and I don't know that that's ever going to go away, but I'm going to be nice to her. Why? Because she's a miserable fucking bitch. And so all I can do is be nice to her so that I don't end up being just like her. Anyway, I'm sorry that you got stuck in a wave loop. That's tragic. Now it's like, it doesn't matter how many boxes you're carrying. It doesn't matter if you're fumbling with your keys. It doesn't matter if you just got dumped or you just found out a family member died and now you're crying and you got a wave. God, awful. Just terrible. And some people might be like, that's not that bad of a thing. The birthday party girl with the bitchy mom, that's worse. And it's like, is it worse? I mean, I can barely remember being 5. I can remember being stuck in a wave loop. Okay. This one says, abandoned by a dude in Cape Town, South Africa to sort out an abortion by myself. Okay. Well, that's bad enough. Just being left by a dude to sort out an abortion by yourself. But in Cape Town, South Africa, I mean, I would not know where to go. If I were stuck in Cape Town, South Africa to sort out an abortion, you could bet that I would come back here to America with half a clit left. Because I would not be going to the right place. I'd probably walk into a butcher. For all I know. I mean, I'm a fucking idiot. So I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know that I can find out what's funny about that. I think if anything, what you lost in your womb, hopefully you made up for in your ability to navigate a foreign city. Okay, this one is from my sister, and she just wrote dead sister with a question mark. Like it was a toss-up. I don't even know what... I mean, she read the question, and it was like, what's the worst thing that ever happened to you? And my own sister wrote back, dead sister? Like maybe it was worse the time that I borrowed her clothes without asking. So I just needed to share that. This other girl wrote, dating a narcissist. Been there. Fucking nightmare. Dating a narcissist is the worst because it's like a game of Monopoly that you cannot fucking win. You'll never win it. And it's actually like having Trump as your president. It's exactly like that. When you're dealing with a narcissist and you're trying to level with them on a regular human, like a normal human being wavelength, you're never going to win. It's impossible. They're playing by different rules than you are. And you can't win because you don't understand their rules. You're playing a game and you don't know the rules of that game. And honestly, even if they were playing against another narcissist, neither of them would win They'd both think that they won, but they wouldn't. Neither of them would actually win in terms of like what we imagine winning to be. So, I don't know if you're currently dating one or if you are speaking in past tense, but all I can say is if you got out of that, good job. And sometimes it's just better to take the L, you know? I'm just listening to my fiance yell at the fucking tiny dog that we got. Okay, this next one. Sharded my pants at a job interview. I don't think that's that bad. I really don't. I think, if anything, you showed them your ability to perform under duress. And to go with the flow. I hate myself. This one says, my dad had a stroke at my 12th birthday party with all my friends there for a sleepover. First of all, that's just embarrassing. Your dad could have waited. Second, I hope your dad actually ended up okay, because that'll you know what I think is probably good from this is that you probably learned that birthday parties are a kind of attention that you don't want. And I think as an adult, that's a positive trait. Okay, birthday parties for people who are adults, it just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not like I don't love birthday parties. They don't thrill me the way that they thrill other adults, and I find them kind of embarrassing. Like, come to my birthday party. It just feels like it feels childish to me. And I've said this before on podcasts, but I think if you're still having birthday parties in your 30s, grow up. Just grow up. It's disgusting. Okay. Next one. I shit on the floor one time, got out of the shower, flexed in the mirror, diarrhea. Well, what does that teach you about vanity, folks? What does that tell you? You can't just jump out of the shower and fuck around. You can't be flexing in the mirror and feel yourself too much, because let me tell you something. God's going to find a way to humble you. You're going to be humbled. And it's not going to be pretty. In fact, it's going to be really, really disgusting. I remember one time, I think it was like the first time that I shaved my full bush, right? I was like in high school, and my ex-boyfriend took it upon himself to let me know that he didn't want to have to hack through a jungle to eat my pussy. And so I shaved it completely off and looked in the mirror and started crying. Okay? I couldn't come back out of the bathroom. I was crying because my pussy looked like a woman who had just gone through a mental breakdown. Did I say this on the last podcast? I can't fucking remember anymore. All I do is podcast, and I don't talk to anybody. So if I've said this before, I'm sorry. And actually, I'm sorry to even be saying it for the first time, because it's a horribly embarrassing story. But yeah, I do remember that distinctly, that I looked at my pussy and was like, she looks like the character in Empire Records that shaves her head in the bathroom. And it really depressed me. Actually, that ex found out that I was engaged and reached out to me in the weirdest way. And I can't go into it, but truly bizarre, the kinds of characters that come out when they find out that you're engaged. Like, this is the guy that I lost my virginity to. And he really, like, he looked at my engagement photo with Andy and it has a tomahawk in it. And he was like, that's a totem symbol for me. And I was like, it's not, it has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? But it's like they start to like, this is a guy who's been married now for I don't know how long. But he said that oh wait. Oh God, I just got the message back. Okay. I think I'm going to read this. He said, I was like, in what way is this a totem symbol for you? I was like, we just did it because we're making fun of the quarantine. And, you know, in my engagement photo, I'm holding a hatchet. We've got a bunch of toilet paper and there's like lemons and shit. It's all just like Find Your Beach stuff. If you don't listen to my other podcast, Find Your Beach, you should. It's really funny. Anyway, so I was like, but what's the symbol for you, out of curiosity? And he said, regarding the tomahawk, first of all, relax. You don't need to write this like it's a letter in the 1800s. This is a Facebook message. Regarding the tomahawk, this may sound strange, but I got really into survival outdoor stuff. It does sound strange. It does. And I started building survival kits and testing gear. Oh my God. This is the man that I lost my virginity to. And I kept buying the SOG and then not liking it and giving it away and then missing it and buying it again. And this happened over and over. So I eventually stopped using it. Long story short, it's a great photo prop. Oh, I kept buying the tomahawk is what he's saying. And I kept buying the tomahawk and then not liking it and giving it away and then missing it and buying it again. And this happened over and over. So I eventually stopped using it. Hey, that's kind of like what you did with me. Long story short, it's a great photo prop and definitely a good tool to poke fun of the zombie apocalypse crowd, aka yourself. So I thought the pick was spot on. There is something called the VTAC Lagana Tomahawk. Wow, he's really into tomahawk culture, which is what I started using after this. But I still love the one you have, and I use some of their knives. What is this for? He's a nurse. What do these people do with their lives? I don't understand. I think the moral of this story, of this Facebook message, is that if you've left someone behind in your life and you're wondering, hey, I wonder how they're doing, you know, or you're thinking about an ex in any way, just want you don't even need to go there mentally. You don't have to, because chances are they've gotten really into survival kits and testing gear for a life that they're not living. Okay. He says, I got really into building rigs and emergency kits for first responders and military situations. What? It keeps my OCD at bay. What? How? I don't like your leg. I want to see 3 pieces of it, all in a line. I don't like, I can't imagine how a tomahawk would keep your OCD at bay. Unless you just unless you didn't like the placement of a cup and you just chopped it in half. You know? I just don't understand. But maybe I don't understand OCD. Anyway, fucking weirdos. Good God. That was my high school boyfriend, everybody. And I don't mean to make fun of him. He's a good guy. He's a good dude. And I'm sorry that I read that on the podcast, but if he listens, he knows that I mean it in good whatever. Okay, next horrible thing that you guys have done. Okay. Let's see. I'm just going through the ones. My stepdad molested me for years, and as manipulation, he bought me anything I wanted. God damn. Should have bought you a new stepdad. My mom used my Social Security to fraudulently file taxes in my name to get a refund check for herself. Okay, that's bad, but on the bright side, she did teach you how to fraudulently file taxes, which during this pandemic could come in handy. All right? Maybe call her up, get some tips. And also, if you feel like it, maybe sue her. I don't know. Get some of that money back. This guy pissed on a weed that wilted onto an electric fence. So he almost buzzed his dick off with electricity. That's pretty fucking bad. One guy said having a baby during COVID quarantine is the worst thing that ever happened to him. Okay? Another guy lost his child during a pandemic. So, Mr. Having a baby during COVID quarantine is the worst thing that ever happened to me. How do you feel now, dummy? Count your fucking blessings. Also, sorry, the other guy, I'm sorry that I used your tragedy to make a fool out of this other guy, but there was no other way to make your tragedy funny because it's just fucking tragic, and I'm so sorry that happened. That's really, yeah. I mean, listen, tragedy plus time equals comedy, and I don't think there's any amount of time that can pass to make that sort of a thing funny. I mean, I've written jokes about my sister who passed away. And if you listen to this podcast or you've listened to me on any other podcast, you know that my sister was very young when she died. And I can't even mention that in the bit that I do because there's nothing funny about it. It's like we are... there's no words really for it. It's just tragic. And I'm so sorry. That is fucking awful. If there's anything that I can say about that, it's that, my family went through that and it really, in a weird way, it changed all of us. Like we were completely different people before it happened. And now I would never change what happened, but I still want my sister back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, even if I wouldn't change what happened, I would still want her back. And that's a weird thing to feel because it's like you never ever thought that you would think that you would think I wouldn't change what happened. But it becomes so much a part of your life just the way that it is. Like she's so much a part of my life, even in death, that I can say something like that without feeling like I'm doing any disservice to her memory. And I don't know if that helps you. And I don't think there's anything that I could say that could help you. And I think it would be arrogant to believe that there was. But my heart is with you and with the mother of your kid. And it's so sad. Yeah, I can't just like go into the next thing now. You know what I will do is I want to talk a little bit about, I took some notes this week because I was thinking about this whole quarantine and what it's been like for me. And what I think, and I've mentioned this on the podcast a little bit before, that I think that this whole period of time is about fear. And I think all of us are kind of experiencing our fears in a new way. Like you're having to kind of face them. Whatever it is that you're dealing with right now in your mind and your heart, and whatever's kind of like causing you anxiety, whether it be like directly related to your job or the outcome of something, or all of us are dealing with things in our lives that we don't have the answers for. You know, or if there is an answer, the answer is, I don't know. And unfortunately, that's like almost an impossible answer for human beings to accept, is just, I don't know. We don't know. And we're all going to have to learn how to accept that as an answer if we want this to get better. And we are going to have to accept, you know, I don't know as an answer if we want to stay in quarantine. And obviously none of us want to stay in quarantine, but if we want to keep social distancing so that we can flatten the curve, which is what we hope to do. But if you're feeling terrified in any way right now in your life, I think the best way to deal with that is to just get back into reality, okay? Like make a list of just the facts in your life. Just the facts. Not what you're imagining, not what you think might happen, but just factual things. So when I start freaking out about my career or where I'm going to live or how much money I'm going to make or any of that, I just go, what are the facts? I have an apartment. My rent is paid. I have money in the bank account right now. I have a fiance who is great. Who I love so much, who is such a good partner. I have an incredible dog who is healthy today. I have a bastard puppy who is learning how to go to the bathroom outside, slowly but surely, and who's really cute. I'm healthy. My bangs are an acceptable length. And I can talk to all my friends on the phone whenever I want. I can see their faces on the phone whenever I want. Those are the facts, okay? All of our anxieties and our fears and all of those things they exist in the future, which isn't here. It's not happening right now. So, which means that they're in our head. They're not real. And so always just come back to, like, if you're sitting in your home and you're freaking the fuck out, take a deep breath and just go, what are the facts? Like, what the fuck is really happening? And that really helps me. You know, and the other thing is, I think the way that we visualize stuff is pretty powerful. Like, if we picture everything falling apart and we start to really get into that and we're going to end up feeling shitty, right? And I think that kind of energy I think it's more powerful than people think. I think it can affect your reality. So, and we're getting into quantum physics here, but it's not going to be the fucking first time, right? We've done it before. We're going to do it again. So it's possible, yes, it's possible that my career could crumble and that nothing will ever come to fruition, right? Or it's possible that my career could go even better than it was without demanding as much time and energy and effort as it was. I could possibly do better than I was doing before without having to get on a plane every fucking weekend. Who knows, right? All I'm saying is, like, it's just as possible for everything to work out and just as probable for everything to work out as it is for everything to go wrong, right? And in fact, I don't think those things are equal in probability. I think actually that it's not like the future is not a coin toss, right? We have choices. We can make choices. And I think it's a choice. Like, if I wanted my career to fall apart and I wanted to forget about comedy and I wanted to forget how to do it, I would have to make a series of choices in order for that to happen. I'm not making those choices, right? So, and I'm sorry to keep using myself as an example, but I literally have no one else to talk to. So, however you can apply this to your own life, please do. But I just feel like so much of what we fear is under the illusion that we don't have a choice. And I think if we recognize that we have a choice in everything that's happening to us, it could change all of this experience for the better. And yeah, I wanted to say that because I've been experiencing a lot of fears about stuff that's not happening. I mean, I've been experiencing fears about, so I'm kind of realizing that I may want to have a kid one day, right? And the idea of having a kid is so terrifying to me that I panic just at the possibility of it happening. And why? Because I'm like, I start to believe that, oh, you can't have a career and a kid at the same time. That's impossible, right? But that's not true at all. Like, there's so many examples of women who have a career and can balance a family and are able to do that. And I freak the fuck out thinking there's no fucking way. But it's like, why? Why not? I don't know why I'm saying all of this on the podcast, but I guess I'm just fucking bullshitting. All right. I think we should get into some bad advice, you guys. That's what I think we should do real quick before we sign off here. And I just want to thank you guys again for listening to another episode. It means so much to me that you guys tune into this show every week. And I don't even know if this one was funny. I think there were maybe some funny moments. Who knows? I'm not, literally can't hear laughter. So if you liked this episode, do me a favor. Screenshot it, tweet about it, let people know about it. It helps so much. And also write to me. Write to me at DevilsAdvocatePod.ATC@gmail.com. You can ask for bad advice. You can let me know what you think about the podcast. You can just anything, honestly. I have no one to talk to. So bad advice, you guys. The bad advice question I have today is from, well, I'm not allowed to say their names. But it says, feeling fat. I can't stop feeling fat, and I can't not eat Chick-fil-A. Please shame me into not eating. I want to be hot. Okay, well, this is just going to get me in trouble. I mean, I can't give bad advice for this because people will take it seriously. I can't give good advice for this because people will be like, don't speak on something that you don't know. But so I'm just going to say that your question is bullshit, and I can't work with this. You're trying to get me canceled from an industry that's already canceled, and I'm not falling for it. Okay? All right? You thought you got me, but you don't. So that's your bad advice segment for the day. The bad advice is I hope you eat Chick-fil-A until the rest of time. And I hope the gays cancel you for it. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week. I love you. Definitely rate, review, subscribe. You know the whole fucking drill. And I will speak to you next week from New York City, a.k.a. the belly of the beast, a.k.a. the asshole of the virus. I am so excited to be back. And I love you all. Thanks. Bye.